It's great to have everybody here. What a turnout. That's pretty exciting for us. I'm glad everybody got the message. Today we're going to dive into the DataLogger and the Vault to give you an update. And we typically like to do this session as an update of just things that we have seen really throughout the last year since Infusion 22. So we'll dive into that. I want to start off with, really start off with just the DataLogger, get into that one. And when we talk about the DataLogger, I want to kind of review, we're on our 6th year of the Android platform, DataLoggers. And with everything that's going on in the DataLogger world, talk a little bit about that. And, so back in 2017, the DataLogger 6 with the Android platform completely launched us into a new era. Really for, that recording and managing of fusions. The interaction amongst everything was really what we rethought, was how you're going to interact with it. And we looked at it from those early days of it being a quality control device to now it's a tool that helps guide the operator through the process. So really getting users up to speed faster, but really also keeping them consistent. And we've heard that time and time again. And then, of course, came the DataLogger 7. And the 6 was always great. We always seek to improve where we can. And the primary focus with the DataLogger 7, of course, was improved battery life. Anytime you have a larger screen, it's going to consume more battery life. And that was absolutely a change that we wanted to make. And we did that with the DataLogger 7. Especially with the hot swap feature where you could actually pull the battery out, it can stay running, swap in a new battery, and get you up to speed. Processing power is also important. So DataLogger 7 has increased processing power. What we're seeing there is a lot of companies have other apps that they're running and they want to run it on that app, get more out of the tool itself, and we're running full business suite applications. So processing power in that mobile space is becoming really important. And then, of course, the functionality that we have to communicate with the I-Series track stars. And then we go in and we look at the hardware itself. And something that we've learned over the years is that rugged hardware is now an order qualifier in our marketplace. We told you that DataLogger 7 was going to be good. If anybody remembers this video of what you can do with this device, and we said it's going to be good. We said it's going to be a good product to build upon, and it certainly has. We know that our environment is never good to electronic devices. We vary from hot and cold. That can happen sometimes even in the same day. And these are construction job sites. Right, so they're gonna get hit with all the elements they can, and really hard on electronic equipment. And like our fusion equipment, we need it to be the most rugged and reliable hardware on the market. So it's IP68 rated, has a mil standard for its drop test. It's waterproof, it's dustproof, right? It's shockproof. And when we say it's a rugged device, we really do mean it. So we want it to last out in the field. We never want the DataLogger to be the thing that stops you on the job site. An additional benefit that's key here is that the base tablet is actually manufactured here in the US. And everything, especially that we heard about this morning, from a supply chain standpoint, we knew that was going to be important. And if you go back through COVID, DataLoggers were never delayed. Right, we made sure that those were always available, and they were. So that proved to be a really good decision at a really key time. And then also the service channel when it comes to getting them repaired. So partnerships there have been really important, and that means something we believe to you all in the room out, whether it's running them yourselves or whether it's in the rental pool or whatever the case may be. So really important. Looking at the platform and adoption. Dive into that. And so if we go way back, pre-DataLogger 6, you remember the DataLogger 6 outsold all the other DataLoggers combined. The DataLogger 6 had 56 months of sales, okay? And what we've done with the DataLogger 7 is we outsold the DataLogger 6 in 37 months with the DataLogger 7. So for us, the adoption has been fantastic. That's really a lot of the folks in this room to thank for that. And it's really good for our industry, right? So we're seeing great adoption of the tablet itself and the device. speaking specifically about the DataLogger 7, we've got over 2,200 units out in the field now, okay? And that battery life has certainly proved to be extremely successful, but not everything comes without challenges. And so I'm gonna spend a little time, this is an update, so we'll talk a little bit about what those challenges were. And you know, some people said, you sure you want to talk about things that were challenges for us that we had to fix and go back? I'm like, yeah. So if anybody knows me, I'm a bit of a hockey fan and a player. And so I'm kind of used to going into situations where I might get punched in the face, so we'll go with that. First one is, while the battery was good, there were situations when it comes to battery management that could get that battery cell imbalanced, okay? And this presents itself to the user either in a battery that just doesn't show as a red X through it, or a really decreased battery life, so some different behaviors. I'm sure many of you probably came across this. It was rather prevalent. Amazing, we were able to work through it. We were able to address that issue. It required a few steps, and we really campaigned on this, is to first get that unit updated. And we did this in conjunction with an Android 11 update. Android 11 gets you up on a later release of Android 11 so that your apps keep running, because they're going to stop development, you know, the older you go. So it did that, but then we also updated the EC firmware. EC stands for Embedded Controller. And this controller is what controls and does all the battery monitoring and the charging. Interesting thing is, in most cases, once you had this update done, it can actually repair the batteries. So big weight off my shoulders for sure, being able to talk people through that and actually getting a repaired battery. We campaigned it. We got over 95% of those DataLogger 7s updated. So really impressive, you know, the marketing and all the things that we had to do to get those updated. If you still haven't done this, or this is news to you, please go back and work through this process. So it can actually repair and again get that tablet up and running for you out in the field. Next thing that we have seen are, we've done a cable update. So we've seen a few issues out there. The cable was really important when we released the DataLogger 7, and we really sought out to find a more ruggedized connector for the back. If you used even the DataLogger 6 or the previous versions, we had the old DB9 serial port connector, not the most ruggedized connection that exists. So we went out and we found what's called a Switchcraft TS connector. It goes into the back of the DataLogger. And the point of this is that the serial port is not rated for high cycles. This TS connector, which came, you know, originally out of military, but where it's primarily used are in like concert venues where they're disconnecting, connecting, you know, multiple times, you know, every single day type of thing. So it has a high cycle rating. So the connector itself has been good, but we did run into a few issues with it, and what the updates are is we actually included shrink wrap on each of the connectors and a retainer that would not allow any of the pins to be pulled back. And so if you look at the picture or the image on the right, you'll see the pin there that is pulled back into the connector. So this was a pretty common issue. This was probably more prevalent on I-Series than anything, mostly due to operators routing the cable not through the intended slot, which we're making changes to as well, but just out and around, so putting a pretty good bend into that. So, but nonetheless, if that's what they're gonna do, we're gonna make changes to the mount. And then also we've made changes to this cable. So we should see a lot of resolution there, solve the bulk of our issues. Finally, and especially through this last summer, temperature management really came up. And this can be challenging. It can be challenging considering all the job site setups, all the various conditions that come with it. However, we are absolutely still happy with the hardware and the tablet and what it's able to do. We've tested this considerably. It gets really hot here in Oklahoma, and so it serves as a pretty good testing ground for us. Our primary issue comes down to sun loading. To give you a little bit of reference, I always tell the story of like mowing my yard, and I have a rider, and if I set my phone down listening to music and it's a hot day, this thing doesn't last a minute and it shuts off. And that's because an iPhone or really any of our consumer devices are rated up to about 95 F35C. Okay, so they'll shut off. They're not going to last that long. What the DataLogger 7 is rated up to is 122 or 50C. And so we're seeing a much higher rating. I personally have measured the screen at 140 and ran all day. I realize that's not going to be the case for everybody in every scenario, but it's something to think about. And we get into this situation where we're talking people through this, but consider what else is going on that site where you're dealing with. Consider what's going on at the pipe temps. If you're dealing with that high sun loading, you're going to have issues with the pipe too. The operator himself standing out in that can certainly be an issue. Hydraulic oil of the machine. So there's a lot to consider. And so what can you do about it? And our biggest suggestion is shade. Please shade it. It's a really simple solution. This is some pics that we have. This is our testing of Triton, which I'm sure Chris, after this session, is going to get deeper into. But I thought it was really good because here we were, this was back in August when I think this particular testing was going on, where we're out running, all day, every day, throughout the week. And every day was over 100 degrees Fahrenheit here. And we multiple operators coming in and off that site, running that data logger, and we never had any issues with it. And a lot of it was just due to shading. Realizing there are so many scenarios that it's not always the easiest setup, but the more you can do things when it comes to shade, the better. So please consider that if you are running into those issues. We are looking internally at what we can provide you. So we're looking at different solutions. Expect to see some of that into the future as we find what works best for the majority of users. All right. So that's a couple of the issues that we saw throughout the year. I hope you got something. Yeah, go ahead.
My quick question, Adam from DJ Prescott.
Yep.
I'm based out of Maine,
Yep.
And I'm on the opposite end. I play in the cold all the time. Have you guys heard anything on, it said negative 4 degrees Fahrenheit. And granted, I don't dwell in that too much.
Yeah.
But we will, and we
Yeah.
have in the past. So have you heard anything on trips with the cold side of things?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get into a lot of different issues there. There's actually a good presentation on cold weather fusion that Jim Johnston does. But tinting, heating, everything you can do to get it above. Really comes down to charging. I've not seen a DataLogger 7 actually get that cold to shut down. Charging through the batteries, that's going to be your limitation on what you can do to charge. But what it will do is maintain the battery wherever you are. So, of course, just like anything, I mean, you guys do a pretty good job of doing tinting and heating and things for the operator. Plus, you get into different issues with fusing the pipe itself, capping the pipe ends where you can. So, I have not had really almost any issues on cold weather. So far, everything's been hot. So, yeah. Yeah. Unless anybody here has anything else, yeah.
It's not a technical issue with the DataLogger, it's more a logistical issue with the DataLogger. Because when we send the DataLogger to some countries, because here nationally it's okay, no problem, but internationally, we are sending a electronic device.
Mm-hmm.
So internationally, we have a lot of rules, and I don't remember the conformity certificate, so we were talking with you for
Yep.
waiting, and you send us to Juniper, the
Yep.
manufacturer of the DataLogger, but in the customs, they say, look, this is not a Juniper device, this is a McElroy, because here, clearly saying McElroy all around, so we need
I believe we wrote a new one. I don't know. I worked with Rafa on that. And so we did write a new one from McElroy.
But it would be great if you
Okay, publish it.
send.
Excellent.
Because in the JTAG one,
Yeah.
it came one
Okay.
small doc
Yep.
with the conformity.
Okay.
certificate.
Yeah, that's a great one. And we are seeing that more, especially the more internationally we go. The request, yeah, the conformance document's the same. We've had some others as well, especially when it comes to cell modems. We had one recently on that, and so we can definitely look at providing more documentation out publicly for those folks that are dealing with that. Sometimes you just have no idea what they're going to ask for, and there's different rules. So excellent. Oh, geez. All right. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just a gut reaction. Yeah.
So two things that I kind of wanted to touch on. One kind of goes with certificates and stuff like that. Can we make it so that way we're able to put a copy of the, like PDF copy into the data logger to save where it's easy to access just through the, while you're in the Macaway app, if an inspector comes over to you and wants it to where you can share it.
Of the calibration? Is that what you're asking? Possibly. Yeah. We'll talk about that. It's actually programmed into it, so you could pull that up through the app. So, but yeah, we could definitely look at, I realize the certificate, is what people want to see. So,
Right.
yeah.
And then second thing would be, I just found out how to do it a couple weeks ago, but change it to where it's the white background on the data logger.
Yeah.
Make it a little easier
Yeah.
to find.
Yeah. Give me a minute, I'll talk about it. All right. Okay. All right, let's get going. All right. So I want to end on a feature that is actually out and have a little conversation there. So looking through DataLogger, if there's a slide will change. When we went to the I-Series machine, it went out into the field. Obviously, the advantages were very obvious. Market has responded extremely well, as everybody's heard. And then, of course, we move into the Triton, and I think we are very excited about that. What we're seeing is that integration of the data logger directly into the product, and we're excited about what that can bring to the industry. And anybody who's really been around, at least my presentations, long enough, is something that we've been talking about is electrofusion. Obviously, McAvoy doesn't technically have a dog in that fight. However, we are on the same job sites. There is no doubt about that. We were just having a conversation earlier about that. And the more value we can build with a data logger, the better. And we've built features like manual fusion, right? Earlier this year, we released the ability to record the manual log of electrofusion with the data logger. This has driven a lot of business. NPC Kinetic, who we gave the Innovation Award to this year, is actually integrating that as well. So they're using the data logger to log not only all their butt fusions, but also all of their electrofusion fusions as well. But we took it a little step further. And so there's a new feature in the data logger is partnership with the Highland electrofusion processors. And what we're doing is, and this is the Supercell and the Vortex, to include full functionality with the data logger. So this is actually a data logger connecting to that equipment and controlling that equipment and data logging all at the same time. And what this can do is, and we continue to see opportunity bringing guided workflow to these processes. It's a process like any other that must be followed. And we're able to do that. And then also retain that data and send all that data into the vault along with all the other fusion data. So we've been talking about it for a while. Here it is, and so we're documenting more of the job site. We continue down that path. And we also don't plan to be done there. I realize there's a lot of different equipment out there. This is the first. If you have one, it takes some effort, but we're certainly open to it. So you have the manual logging process, and then now, of course, working with the Highland, you have that available to you as well. But to present what's possible with the data logger and where integrations can go is pretty exciting for us. So I hope everybody sees opportunity there, or possibly change any of the way you're doing business right now. So pretty exciting about that. Where I want to end on data logger, and then we'll jump over to Vault, is talk about roadmap. So this will get into a little bit of Pat's question. So here's where we're at. So electrofusion we have out there, it's live, it's available. Triton's our big focus right now when it comes to data logger. Working through that and all the testing, all the validation that we're doing to make that product right. Again, you'll see more of that tomorrow. And then next up, big one for us, is Android 14. So a new operating system coming out, and we're actually making a pretty big jump from 11 to 14. That's important. We want to stay up on the latest, keeps you more current. And again, the more apps you tend to run on this, you know, they need to be up to the latest versions. And so we will be focused on that transitioning over to 14. And again, it'll be the same data loggers that you're running today. And then also the Verizon certification. And here's what's important is that we at McElroy definitely want to push more connected equipment. The more hurdles that we can remove from that process, the better. We want to get that data out of the field, into the vault, and make it more actionable and more real time. And so the more we can be connected, the better. We're starting with Verizon. Let me finish this and then we'll come back. We're starting with Verizon because one of their willingness to work with us. And so we're doing that. And now let me say this with a data logger. You 100% can go to Verizon, get a SIM card now, put it in, and it will work. You can go to AT&T, you can go to T-Mobile, they all work, right? The difference is you will have a varying level of experience when you walk into those stores, whether it's corporate owned or third party, however that is. And with this Verizon certification, it'll make it much easier to do that, or possibly for McElroy to pre-install the cards as well. So we are definitely looking at what it's going to take to make the equipment more connected. The international guys, I apologize, that world is a whole different ball, but most of you have all handled that very well already. Chris, what you got on that one?
Just what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Is there ever going to be a situation where you guys are dealing with any other cell phone companies, or is it always just going to stay for us?
It is no small feat. It's absolutely amazing. So yeah, it's possible, but today this is where we're starting. Yeah, for sure. But again, it doesn't mean that they won't work. Yeah, go.
If it works for the SIM card now, what does this certification do?
It puts money in someone's no. It allows. Yeah, go ahead. I got the guy here. How about that?
Hi guys, we're from Juniper.
Oh.
Hopefully answer some of your questions for you. It technically is not supposed to work on Verizon today. If you activate a SIM card in your phone and stick it in, it usually works. It shouldn't do that. The certification allows us to legally do that from the store, adding, swapping cards, all of that will work 100% after the certification.
Yeah, and if you walk into the store, they recognize that. If you walk in today, they go, "We don't know what this is."
Yep.
That's really the difference. So again, removing those hurdles so that that's a possibility. Yeah. And then, okay, the final thing, Pat, this is to your point. Further out, and it's in dotted lines for a reason, because on a roadmap, further you go out, things get a little bit more murky when it comes to development, and then, you know, all the stuff that gets thrown at us, things change. But something that is on our roadmap is a UI refresh. Again, like I said, we've been on the Android platform for 6 years, so we do expect to make some changes. And our number one objective is sunlight readability when it comes to the tablets, especially with the iSeries out and with the Triton. We've definitely seen that can be an issue in given circumstances. There is a way to do it now through accessibility settings, but we want to give it more of an official way that'll feel more embedded into the app. So that's where we're focused. So that's coming for the data logger. Good. All right. Now let's jump into and talk about the vault. So I'm going to go back to last year. Throw this slide up here. And I shared this, and it was just a vault by the numbers as of Infusion last year. And this first number here, we looked at all the records that came into the vault last year, and what were they made by? You know, a DL5, DL6, DL7, whatever the case may be. 90% of the records that came in last year were done by a 6 or a 7. We looked at that and went, wow, that's really good. For us, that's a conversion rate from older technology to newer technology, especially that big switch to the 6, the Android platform, where there's a lot more rich data as well. We can look at how many accounts are getting set up, and there was about an average of about 1,000 accounts, really steady growth in accounts being set up per year. So good number for us. 3.3 million records as of last year. And then if we look at those 1,000 new accounts, 60% of those within the first 30 days, we're adding fusions. And you go, 60%. You know, people always want to hear these 95%. But for us, that's actually a really good number, right? That tells you set up an account and they're putting fusions in right away. And we're putting a lot of fusions in, okay? So we're logging, right? That's what was apparent. The number that got us was this, is when we looked at those same accounts that were set up in a year, only 26% of them logged in more than 2 times, right? So what's that tell you? We're logging, we're not looking at the data, right? And I can't tell you how many times, and it kind of used to be funny, it's probably not as funny as it is anymore. We get the phone call, hey Macri, can you help us review this joint report? And you look at it and yeah, you see an issue, shift sequence, some common errors. Then there's that awkward, silence, a little pause there. And it's like, I've got 300 more like it, and it's buried in the ground, What do I do? Well, it's not a fun day, and it happens a lot, And so the worst part is that you data logged, you did the work, you didn't review it in real time. Go through, let's update these numbers. So that was this year, 91% used a DataLogger 6 or 7. Great, we're still on a good pace. Oh, that didn't come through. 4.3 million records. We added 1 million records this year. That is absolutely fantastic. I say we. I didn't do any of that. You all did that, So I say we a lot. 1,200 new accounts, and this is pretty interesting. This year will be a banner year for accounts set up. That's 1,200 as of this calendar year, so we fully expect to blow that average out of the water this year. And then of those, the 55% of those accounts are adding fusions. And I have a little insight into what I think is going on some of these accounts. Because of the inspection app getting rolled into the vault, we believe some of these are more inspection-based accounts, which is probably throwing our number down a little bit. So I would call that steady of who is adding those fusions in the vault. So still pretty steady. And then we look at that, was 26%, is now 24%. Again, probably related to the number of accounts that are there. So let's call it flat. So nonetheless, everything's still the same. You heard Chris talk about this morning about actionable data and things that matter right now. And we did that. And we tried to help users, with the exception reporting feature. And so what the exception reporting is an algorithm, right? It looks at key aspects of the fusion, right? And identifies them. Is it within the standard or is it possibly outside of the standard? And then from there, they can dive in deeper into the report, look quickly at what aspect of that could be outside of the standard, and then jump over and look at what the cause of that issue is and take action right then. So it's an easy way to identify, manage reports by exception, dive further into that cause. It is a fantastic feature, but it requires the user to log in and go look, right? And you have to find that information, right? So but it is there for you, the tool does exist. So again, like Chris said, we are releasing this year, or as of Monday, it is live. So vault notifications. So let me talk about what some of those are. So joint exceptions, new reports, equipment inspections, data logger tracking, and of course the popular calibration notifications. Yeah, yes sir.
So on like any of those vault notifications, is that something where people like us who rent out data loggers, is that something we can set up on there, or does it just strictly have to go through the vault account that's logged on there, or how is that going to work? Where when they call us and say, hey, can you look at the joint report, we have to go log in and look at it?
Yep, it's all in the vault account. So it certainly becomes how they set up the vault account. So if it's like their first time, yeah, good thing to talk them through. Hey, this is what the feature is, and set those up. Of course, once you get the user rolling, that's the big challenge is it needs to become part of their business.
Absolutely.
If we do it lightly, that's the results you're going to get. At some point we have to become integrators, right? And that's the key, is how do we integrate this into their business, and they use it as a system and not as something that is, tertiary to the primary job, for sure. Yes, sir.
With notifications, are they going to the device itself, or are they going to go to someone else?
Today, email. I'll show you. Yeah.
With the calibration reminders, is that when it comes due? Is there going to be lead time?
I'll show you. Yeah. 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 Oh, Pat, God. Yeah.
Every time. As far as the calibration reminder, so I'm assuming that the calibration gets sent to whatever bulk count is in that tab. Is there a way that we can make it so the distributors, or if someone has them in their rental fleet, can
Yeah.
send a separate email?
Yeah, let me show you. That's getting into the weeds, and things get a little harder. Devil's in the details for sure. Yeah, so let me walk through it, and I'll show you. So let me show you first how do we turn on notifications. So we jump into the vault, we zoom up there to our name where we can access our profile, and once we click on that profile, you're going to see a new notifications selection, right? Kind of aptly named. And then we'll go into the notifications admin page, and from here you will be able to create new notifications. So click on add notification, and like Chris said, we're able to do, we wanted to make this a customizable process, right? Not just something we can, but something you can say, okay, what is available to me? You know, I may not want every notification option out there, but this is what's important to me as well. So if we first go we can look and walk through a quick example here. What we're going to do is we're going to start with joint exceptions, probably the key one, right, to start with. So we select joint exception, and then from there, depending on the type of notification, there will be different triggers that the user can select, especially for notifications. So in this case, whether it came into the vault and it was flagged for review, meaning something could be outside of the standard, please go review this. You also have if it was accepted automatically by the vault, or if a user accepted it, and then likewise if a user rejected it. You can get those notifications sent to you. And that's going to happen when that event occurs, right? On that trigger, you will get a notification. If you don't respond to the notification, you'll also have the ability to get reminders. So we'll go in here, we'll select review, and then you can set days that you want to be reminded on. And so if you want to do all week or Mondays or whatever is convenient for you, you can select those, and then the time of the reminder that you want to get, and then as many email addresses to receive it. And so whatever email addresses you enter are going to get an email notification as well. And then we'll go ahead and save it, and that's setting up a first notification, right? So really simple to set up. And now let's talk about that calibration reminder. So when I look here, I go in, we're going to select the calibrations. Then what happens is I'm presented with a list, okay? And what this list is, and again, this is the challenge, especially when we consider macro channel partners and rental fleets and who is doing calibrations. So what we are doing is if in this particular account that you're logged into or sub account, we're going to pull in all of the transducer serial numbers of the DataLogger reports that exist in that account. And that's going to be in this list, okay? And if you are calibrating, right, and you're calibrating in that account, all of those that you have calibrated will also be in this list. So you'll be able to select through, filter through, and add all of those to a full list so that you can get a reminder on. If you're doing calibration, expect to see a slight change to that app where you can enter customer details. So you know who would you contact that owns, you know, serial number 1234. So that'll be coming as well, but it'll give you a way to get that reminder. Then you'll be able to populate the list and then select, do you want it before, upcoming calibration due dates, and then whatever day, how many days in advance you want it to be. So if you want every 6 months, then select it. If you want 30 days, go for it. So you'll have that feature available, or if you just want to know if it's past due, that's also available to you.
So you can select both upcoming and past due?
You can, yeah.
Well, it would be for like the DataLogger 5s, 6s?
Event, yeah, next step. Right now, this is focused on, it'll be 7s and I series, and then others will be coming. Yeah. Yep. So, all right, let's go.
Can you make it so that way you can manually enter the DataLogger serial number that you want to track? Because
Nope.
if we put a DataLogger into rental, it's not going to show in there.
If you calibrated it, though, it would.
But if you send them a brand new
Brand new one, yeah. We'll work on that, yeah. We'll talk, yeah. We'll make it work, yeah.
This is only gonna work though if once it's connected to Wi-Fi. If they're in the field and it's not set up on cell service, it's only gonna work when it's connected to Wi-Fi.
Anytime it checks in, anytime we'll like, we know the serial number, so we'll always grab the latest calibration date. We will know that.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about any of it though, like.
No, this is in the vault. It has nothing to do with DataLogger.
Well, so the exceptions.
Yeah.
If it's not connected to Wi-Fi or cell service in the field, that is not going to work until they connect it to Wi-Fi or cell service in the evening, correct?
No, because it's being stored in the vault. Yeah, what am I? Yeah, but the joint doesn't matter. Yeah, all we're looking at is a serial number and the date. Oh, exception reporting. Oh.
If you're in the field in the middle of nowhere, you don't.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely.
Wi-Fi, none of this is going to work until they get back.
Yes, okay, yeah, on exception reporting, yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, you got to, when the joint comes into the vault. Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I was stuck on calculations. And then, of course, you have the same reminders and then email setup as well. Let me quickly walk through inspections. So integration with the inspection app. So as you're out, you're checking you're inspecting your equipment. Like calibrations, you'll also have that ability to say, you know, look at this particular asset that we own. When's its inspection date coming up to be due? So very similar to calibrations there. New reports, and this is especially for high-profile jobs where you're watching those reports and you want to see them coming in. You know, for us, it's things like Talon always comes to mind. You know, we watch every time one of those pretty high profile coming in, but you can have features like that. Data logger tracking, this one's pretty interesting, and I can look around. I've had conversations with almost everyone in here about this. But if a data logger went missing or was possibly stolen, and hey, McElroy, can you keep an eye on this? Well, this is how we do it. Is what happens is that the data logger periodically, when it's connected, will check in with the vault, and that's how update notifications happen. That's really its primary objective is, do I need to update the app? And so it's checking in occasionally to do that, and what we do is we actually send along GPS information, and we say, okay, if it checked in, where did it check in at? And so when you all call and say, can you find this, that's how we're trying to do it, okay? So we said, hey, let's make this feature available to everybody. So you can go in, put in your serial number, and when it checks in, you get an email notification and GPS location of the device. I'm sure we can expand on the use of that as we go forward, but it's something that we can put into your hands, into your account. So pretty exciting there. So that's us getting notifications set up. And then if we go look at what do they look like? How do they come to us? So what you're going to see now is that new notifications tab included in the vault. And when we go there, this is how the user will see and manage all the notifications that are within the vault. So they have options to do things. It's going to depend on the type of notification, but they'll be able to resend it. They'll be able to go in, dive directly into that Fusion as well. And then is kind of like managing like your Outlook. You're going to have the ability to, you know, mark all as read and do different things like that. But that's within the vault. When we look at what the email notification looks like, so that'll come to you and you'll have some details. So, you know, in this case, this is joint number, I can't see it from there. Joint number 1, this job, and we've found an exception. And then there's going to be a link. And the cool thing about notifications is I said you can put any email address, whether that email address is tied to a vault account or not. So if you are tied to a vault account and you click on this, you're going to be taken right into your account. You can go and access that report directly, okay? If you are not, let's say that you have, you know, an engineer, doesn't necessarily have that account access, doesn't need it, but needs to see the reports, they can use that same link and they will open up a page just like what's similar on the screen here, and they'll have no navigation. They won't be able to do anything in the report, but they will be able to see it. So they'll be able to have in-field visibility of that report, be able to take action in real time. Anyways, great little feature there for anybody to be able to access it, and you can put as many email addresses as you'd like. And if you want to put Pat's just for fun, just to blow them up, you could do that. All right, so that's where we're at with notifications. So we're very excited about it. I remember that number about interaction with the vault. So we are trying to drive people back to the vault so that we can take action, so that we have a better product out on the end, right, when it comes to those fusions. Now, remember, our goal driving back to the vault, and we understand that email can still be asynchronous, right? So the next step for us is to focus on updating Vault UI. Chris mentioned today, we have done a full back-end upgrade of the Vault. Nobody here, you don't really get to see that stuff, but it's a lot better. It allows us to update faster, allows the interaction that you have to be quicker. And it sets us up for the latest technology, and we're going to do a full a UI update. This will also come with some extra features, things like job provisioning, so setting up a job before it ever goes out into the field. I know we've talked about that. Job site analytics, there's a lot more that we can learn. We mentioned Fusion Technologies today and what they're doing with the data and the critical time between fusions and how that's improving their productivity. So we'll be really looking at things like that. But the real push for the UI for us is to enable us to move the Vault from just web into a mobile app. Again, you get an email, not always looking at email, but if I have a mobile app, then we can do push notifications. So when those reports do come in, I can take action on those reports in more real time as well. And that can be things, and we have some examples here. You know, let's say I have a machine out there that needs an inspection. That notification comes through, and when I'm looking at it in mobile, we'll have more views that are directly tied around that equipment. So imagine a page that's solely looking at that machine and what its inspection, its maintenance history is. So we're really focused on that, thinking about the operator perspective and getting alerts about an operator whose qualification is out of date and they're out working on a job. And then, of course, being able to go in and look at all their credentials in the Vault in real time. Yes, sir? No.
What is UI?
User interface. Yeah. Sorry, acronyms. Okay, so last thing that I'm going to end on is the roadmap for the Vault. So let me throw that up there. So our current focus is, again, notifications, and we'll continue to expand on that. Updated interface, and then moving to that mobile app. There's going to be a little bit of overlap there, but they expect to see those new features like job provisioning and job site analytics. And then the one that's a little further out, and again in the dotted line for a reason, is those operator profiles. Operator profiles is a bit messy, but we see a ton of value, especially to the customer, on being able to get more information surrounding that operator and what it can do in the Vault. That's what we have coming out. Very excited about the possibilities and really excited about everybody's interest and where we can go with the DataLogger in the Vault. Yes, sir.
Mike, the exportation feature for Excel.
Excel, yep.
Is now a standard for everyone.
It's a standard for everybody. That's correct, yeah. I don't know if everybody heard that, but being able to download the data out of the Vault into Excel is a standard feature that you should be able to do on anybody's account, yeah. Yes, sir.
I have a rental pool set of DataLoggers. They go out, you have your, they set up their accounts and record and goes into the Vault. Notifications would come to us as a renter, correct?
That's how you set it up.
So,
Is it their account that you're setting up?
well, no, they would have their own setup.
Yeah, then it would be on them. The records are going to go into their account, and depends how they have set up notifications.
They can go in and set up the notifications.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
So if I rent a data logger, what keeps me from getting notifications on the next renter? What splits it? Since it's on my Vault account at that point, then I rent it to Drew, for example, he does 9,000 fusions tomorrow.
They're all going to be good though.
Yeah. So what keeps me from having any kind of access to what data loggers do? Because your list said any data logger that you can have fusions with, you'll have access for notifications.
It depends on the type, but it would all be tied to that account. So are you renting out all under one account? So you're renting to multiple users under one account?
So I have a data logger, let's say I rent it to a customer, they
Yep.
have it, they set it up, they get it going and everything, they have it for a month.
Yep.
Then I rent it to someone else, but it's already in the Vault account under that number, so it keeps this customer from getting information from the next job.
So it's joint
Follows the vault account is the key there.
I think
Yeah.
the confusion was that the one on the calibration,
Yep.
anything that you see, that's just calibration.
Yeah. And it's the trick with calibrations, right? Is that, yeah, you're checking it out and then you're renting it out and moving it between accounts. Yeah.
With that calibration detail go to the renter, because it's on his account.
If he sets it up. So you can have multiple if they care, but then if I did a job 3 months and then I don't, and I don't want to see that calibration reminder, I can turn it off.
If it's a rental company, is there a way to have a master account where not joint rentals, but just calibration of things which reports get sent to a.
So that where it would come from would be when you calibrate. My expectation, you would be doing the calibration, and then yes, it will be in your account as well, available to you. Yeah. You got it.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, we're fairly new, we're started renting the data loggers. So what I've been doing is setting up that project as a user under my account. Because we're doing the training, we're renting the tools, we're renting the data logger, they're gonna come back to me with questions anyway. So for me to have access to review the wells, and I just set them up as a user on my account, they have a project name, they get into their project folder, and that's it.
It's yeah, that's going to depend on so many different circumstances on who's even, some Fusion Technologies they're not going to use an account under yours, they have their own. You know what I mean? It depends on the level of involvement, I would say. Yes, sir.
Hi, good question. If I have a place for that role that I went across the country, right? If a customer changes the vault account, I won't be able to track it that way. Is that correct?
No, you would. It's all based on serial number. You're saying for the data logger tracking feature, like when it pings? No, yeah, you would have keyed in the serial number already.
But the DataLogger account is not mine, the one that is used that one. Because it's the customer one. If I receive it, I could use mine. If I rent it, the DataLogger account will change. You know what I mean?
You're saying you're renting it out or you're using theirs?
No, I'm renting the data.
Each
Oh.
I'm using the vault.
Oh, okay.
Not me. So what happens to the track? Should I lose track of that device if the account was changed to the device?
Let me say it this way. I think the intention is for more of the ownership of the tablet itself, right? And so if you're renting it out, you're going to likely be setting that notification up. If I'm renting a data logger, I don't know, is my level of sophistication up to where I want to get data logger tracking notifications of it? Possibly. And they could. I mean, it could be both, could do it. And any time that serial number, it's really all we're limiting it to, it would get that notification, really whatever vault account is signed in or not. It's more about the ownership of the data logger itself. Does that answer the question? If not, we can dive in more.
That's, on that too. So, I'm with him. I go under my account, set up all my serial numbers to receive the notifications that
Yeah.
I want. Rent it out to XYZ customer, he puts in his vault account, but it's tracking just the serial number, and let's say it needs to be calibrated.
Yeah,
It's gonna come to whoever I set the recipients up regardless of who's on that vault account, correct?
correct.
That's what I think he was
Okay.
asking, because I was asking the same question.
Yeah, that's it. All right. 7 minutes or 7 questions? Okay. All right. What else? Yes, sir.
Are we able to tracking also the
Today only the data logger, but we can talk more about that. There's the check-in thing would be a little odd. It'd be connected. There's maybe some things we'd have to work through. We'll talk more about it. Right now it would be the data logger tablet only.
Mike, with the I-Series, the DataLogger, as we all know, is changing. So they can turn on to the I-Series with different DataLogger that we have today.
Yep.
I'm just really talking about calibration. Calibration is the producer we're talking about.
Correct.
If it's a different calibrator, if it's a different device, different device, then that's going to go out of the whack. Because it's no longer with its own transducer.
The data. Yeah. So let me try to repeat it. So especially on I-Series, where really it follows the transducer, it doesn't. The tablet is not necessarily the key. The tablet is sending the data saying this serial number to this calibration due date. So doesn't matter what any data logger I hook up to it, that information is still going up. And so we've got really two ways, especially when it comes to the DataLogger 7 and I series, is that at some point they're going to be calibrated, and that's all done within the vault. So part of the reason for us doing that is we have central storage and we have knowledge of what that due date is on every transducer, whether it's a channel partner doing it or whether it's McElroy doing it. And so in that case, we already have a date that's established. Now, if something somehow slips through, we'll use the later date that happened out in the field, okay? But it really is completely independent of the tablet itself because we are looking at serial numbers of transducers and their due date. So you can still interchange data loggers and it's still gonna say, oh, serial number 1234 checked in and this is where, and it's coming up due. And again, that account that has the notification set up will get that notification. Yeah.
I-series DataLogger offers using an accidentally look that you hit the calibration icon and nothing but issues. It was not allowed in the site.
So what I would suggest on that is we don't have the calibration app installed on units that are going out into the field. Is that what you're saying? It was installed on the same device, went out into the field, they hit that app, and what happens is the two apps, the DataLogger app, the calibration app, they now have to arbitrate over the port. That's what's happening, okay? And now it gets confused. And so the key there is to delete that calibration app off of there, keep that on a device, you know, back at home base there. And that way, when a unit comes in, you're not really concerned about the tablet itself. You just grab the transducer, use a different DataLogger tablet, calibrate the unit, and it can go out. Yeah. And we do have standalone calibration tablets, so for that purpose. All right, we're down to 3 minutes. What other questions?
Are those separate DataLogger tablets, are those listed on the website? Are
They,
they available at part numbers you can order just?
I'm gonna say yes, very confidently, but yeah, they should be. Yeah, they are. Yeah, yes, sir.
Heat soak on overheating the tablets, is there a method that has seemed to work other than an umbrella?
I mean, if anybody has any, shade, I have not had an issue once it's shaded. Yeah, I mean, people have thrown them in the truck for a minute to let them cool off, but really, I mean, even if it could get a little saturated, but that's a pretty rare situation. I mean, we were over in, we're working in some pretty hot environments, and once it's shaded, you know, they'll run pretty consistently. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Is that transducer new this year? Connection that always breaks on?
The DataLogger 7 is new compared to the DataLogger 6 and all the previous.
20 we bought last year at this time, have that on or no?
They do. They've been the same since launch. The only thing that's been different is the port. At one point, we had two different manufacturers. One was a big, heavy, you know, just don't hit somebody with it, and the other one's a little smaller. Yeah.
My guys are still gonna break them in the field.
That's not a challenge. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir. DataLogger 8. See, I knew it was gonna happen. Yeah. Okay. So here's your. Huh? We're out of time. Sorry. So who's got a bet on tomorrow if a DataLogger 8's coming? No, honestly, I will let you down if you have any money on that one for tomorrow. There will not be a new DataLogger 8 coming tomorrow. We did say when we launched DataLogger 7 that we understand our market and we are planning for longer life cycles. We are holding to that. So in the near future, we are not expecting a change to the tablet. If you're buying product now, expect that you're still going to get, you know, full life, full support, and even once we go to the 8, we're going to have a long life of support as well for the tablet. So feel comfortable with purchases today. Yeah. Yes, sir.
The DataLogger integrated with the remote control on the Triton, is that one part of the Triton, or just based on that?
Yeah, Chris covers more of it. Yeah, yeah. If you want to hang out for that. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You know, for customize the vision of the customer, in this case, like add the logo or something on the report.
On the report itself. Okay, yeah. We've done that on inspections actually, but we haven't talked about reports yet. Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
Good feature. We'll definitely take that. All right, guys. Thank you all.